Again, thank you so much for that very good introduction. Um, and if there's a question later, we can basically address those questions as I go back to all of you. All right. Um, this session is very important to me, not just because it's about the upcoming semester. It's not just about the new normal, but it talks so much about the discipline where I am right now, which is more on the practice of psychology and fusing psychology and management into one conglomerate. Okay. I can see that that energy of some of you when you were wagging your hand with me at the very beginning would indicate the kind of excitement there is, looking forward to this session. So, yep, again, it's an honor to be here. I've mentioned here through a quote that the mind is everything. What you think, you become. So, we will have a lot of discussions on the mental state, how you control the circumstance. There are things you cannot control, but of course there are things you can control, and it's just a matter of setting your mind into this. Okay. Keep in touch, especially for those who would want to consult on something else later on, or maybe in line with the topic that we have for today, which of course we have very limited time of encounters. So I think it will be good if you will have some sort of a discourse or a sharing of insights later on. Okay. So I'll also send my presentation to the BSU team, so they will have the opportunity to have this data populated for with the rest of you. Although probably you can watch the recorded version of this webinar. Okay. All right. So here I want you to be more sensitive and reflective. Be more reflective with your answers on the mindset, short quiz that I'll be flashing on the screen in the next slide. So there's no right and wrong answer, don't worry. But be more honest as you navigate through each of the question. So prepare your pen and paper with you, or maybe your mobile phone, just to encode your responses to the 10-item mindset quiz. Okay, here it goes. So you will find at the right after the question, the strongly agree, agree, disagree, and strongly disagree. And allow me to read each of the question, although you may have a facilitation of your answers faster than the way I read it. It's just for the others who are still connecting now, so they can still go to the question of that they need to respond to. So first question on the list, your intelligence is something very basic about you that you can't change very much. What's your appraisal on this? Is it 0 for strongly agree, 1 for agree, 2 for disagree, and 3 for strongly disagree? So just jot down the score and we'll add them later. Okay? So that's number 1. Number 2, no matter how much intelligence you have, you can always change it quite a bit. If your answer is strongly agree, you can assign a score of 3, agree, assign a score of 2, disagree, 1, and strongly disagree, 0. Okay, number 3 on the list. Only a few people will be truly good at sports. You have to be born with the ability. Whatever area of sports that may be, or what kind of sports that may be. If your answer is 0, then please strongly agree. Agree for 1, disagree for 2, and strongly disagree for 3. Again, jot down your scores and we'll add them together later on. Okay, number 4 question. The harder you work at something, the better you will be. That's number 4. If your Your answer is strongly agree. This time you need to generate a score of 3. If you agree, assign a score of 2. If you disagree, assign a score of 1, and assign a score of 0 if you strongly disagree in number 4 item. Right? Alright, next. That's in number 3, sorry, then number 3. Number 4, sorry, that's in number 4. The harder you work at something, the better you will be. Number 5, I often get angry when I get feedback about my performance. So just try to visualize if that's becoming a pattern. Strongly agree, 0. Agree, a score of 1. Disagree, a score of 2. And strongly disagree, a score of 3. Moving forward. Number 6, I appreciate when people, parents, coaches, or teachers give me feedback about my performance. Right? Strongly agree, place a score of 3. Agree, 2. Disagree, 1. And strongly disagree, 0. Okay, moving forward. Number 7, truly smart people do not need to try hard. Truly smart people do not need to try hard. Strongly agree, 0. Agree, 1. Disagree, 2. And if your answer is strongly agree, assign a score of 3. Alright, I hope you're on the right track. We only have 3 questions left. Third to the last question. You can always change how intelligent you are. That's the question. If your answer is strongly agree, place a score of 3. Agree for 2. Disagree for 1. And strongly disagree for 0. Alright, moving forward. Second to the last question. I hope you can still follow, or you're following. Second to the last question. You're a certain kind of person, and there is not much that can be done to really change that. Strongly agree for 0. Agree for 1. Disagree for 2. And strongly disagree for 3. Okay, last question. There is on the table an important reason why I do my schoolwork is that I enjoy learning new things. I hope you do. Strongly agree, 3. Agree, 2. Disagree, 1. And strongly disagree, 0. Okay. It's high time for you to add on the scores. Alright? You can do, sorry to put a stress for those who are not so good in math. And we don't want to add more stress in your life, but this is part of our activity today, okay? It's like having a face-to-face interaction, having some sort of workshop for all of you, all right? Okay, there you go. Let's move into this. It's about you. There's no right and wrong answer. Don't worry. If one of the scores would fall under you, it may be good, it may not be so good, but you know, what is lacking in today's world is our ability to have some sort of generalization about ourselves. We really lack this reflection skills, you know. Especially at this point in time, we have a lot of information overload, and there's no way for you to somehow have a time to look at how you feel, how you think, and how you behave. You know, at some point in time, we're talking about your perception here, so this is about you. First one on the list, who got 22 to 30? You have this. Good enough, right? Don't change your score. Don't cheat. Okay, good. Congratulations. But as you know, there's no perfect person. Again, this calls for even our administrators who are listening now. You know, some of them are laughing it out, maybe because they have lower scores than here. That's fine. Everyone has the a room for improvement. You know. So that's 22 to 30. I would say very good. Congratulations for those who have this. However, it's all right if you have the 17 to 21 scale or range, rather. You know, you have growth mindset, but with some fixed ideas. Okay, later on, as I plunge into my discussion, you'll find it interesting that to see the discrepancy between the fixed and the growth mindset. You know, or sometimes you may be in between. So let's see how you'll be able to have a more accurate view of the differences between these two and where you fall under, and then later what can we do to improve your growth mindset. Okay, all right, 11 to 16, who among you have these range of scores? It means you're fixed with some growth mindset, with some growth ideas. Okay, not bad though. Okay, 0 to 10, you have strong fixed mindset. Okay, this one, it's not also that bad, although you may also consider in the near future to have the yet rather than the now. You're more on the now when you have your strong fixed mindset currently focused on the now rather than on what will happen in the near future. Okay. All right, so congratulations for those scores, and we'll see later on how we can integrate, you know, those set of examples given in those 10 items that I'll be delivering with you today. Okay, so in scanning your mindset, your ability, that's what we have done so far, and later on in this particular discussion, obviously, I'll be dealing with not just the mindset. Mindset, guys, is more on what the patterns of thinking and how you think you would feel and behave and even think at a specific point in time. That's your mindset. But having the word growth there is more differentiated than the typical mindset of what the circumstance would be and how you would react to it, because there's more vitality with the way you would react, you know, and set the parameters of your reaction at that. Okay, so some facts about good growth mindset according to studies, I'll be sharing that with you now. So what you get when you have the growth mindset in there. The topic today obviously talks more on the strategic mindset as you go back to your respective you know, second homes, which happen to be BSU. And on these facts, what entails you to have more positive mindset than what you used to have, solely because maybe you're more fixated to that fixed mindset rather than the growth mindset there is. Okay, so I hope it will be more engaging when we reach the stage wherein you guys need to articulate your opinions, your standpoint, your experiences. Share them later when you have the open forum to be able to articulate your views and your experiences, or some questions you may have in mind as well. Okay, that's how I have always integrated the whole stuff together. Well, so I'm performing. You know, in these past months, I was into mental health webinars, and upon running these webinars, what I find out is that before, essentially, you would feel that anxiousness, you know, like the new normal in here is that you need to really face the reality that gone are the days you're at home, and you need to really somehow do some blended interaction, not just purely online, but somehow, we're not saying it is, but you know, there's this flashing of ideas that somehow everything will be back to normal, and whatever that new normal would be, that would be somehow coupled with physical and blended setup, in the classroom sessions there may be. So stress is normal in so many circumstances because it's a feeling of worrying. An element of that is in stress, no? But normal individuals have that. Every day we have our own form of stressors, and normal people experience that. What could be more interesting is that if you overthink, if you feel that you're no longer equipped with that ability to control your emotions, it develops into some sort of not so normal, well, you may say abnormal states, like you become so depressed, you can't eat, it's difficult, you're agitated, you have some panic attacks when you just think of coming back to the university site, then that basically goes outside the normal curve, you know? The anxiety and depression are more clinically diagnosed, and it has more of an impact to your mental health. You don't want to go that far. So what catalyzes you not to go in that second or third level, deep-seated mental health issues or problems or illness there may be, is for you to have that perspective that your mind over matter would really be at the picture. Without you having said that, that mind setting will be futile. And later when we discuss about the dichotomy of the brain, why is it that we really have this negativity integral to our day-to-day being, is because we really have a very negative brain, and it's how you control these negativities that would matter a lot in the process. That's really interesting statement. So I'll go back to that statement later. Okay. So the power of mind growth is that if that will just be mindset without growth, it will be the way you visualize yourself being in one situation, how you would apply the ABC. A for affective, that's what you intend to feel. B for behavior, what you intend to demonstrate. And C for cognitive, what you think you have to think during the time that you will be in your respective places. For instance, that place that I'm talking about is the university, BSU particularly, that you intend to be in if in case the classes would open, right? So if you being at the moment is your mindset, right? But with growth in there, most people would think that it's the basic ability, So guys, come to think of it, that in the history of studying abilities, you have the cognitive ability, you have the human skills, you have the technical ability, you have the human ability, and then you have the conceptual ability or human skills. Okay, these three skills pertain to that. Scanning through, you're the one concluding, am I good technically? If you're saying you're good technically, it means you're good in your academics. It's a basic premise that mindset would be whichever place you may be working in the near future, you can deliver, because you know very well your skill. That's the first level skill, would be the technical skills, right? So that dedication and hard work is connected definitely with the technical skills, because you can never be noticed by the employer if your talent, at that very point in time is not within the standard. So the growth mindset basically gives you the idea that the IQ is important and what's the EQ. Okay, I'll go through that direction later on, but what fuels your growth mindset is your love and passion for learning. And that basically pushes you to become more resilient. Resiliency nowadays would not just be the definition of bouncing back to those, in response to those problems and realities and realms of life, but it may also pertain to your ability to bounce forward. So it's not just recognizing I need to stand still, I need to survive. No, you need to thrive. Right? That what the growth mindset is trying to push for us to realize. Okay? Then at the end of the day, it's about accomplishing more, which is essential to the formulation of the growth mindset there is. Okay? You know, in my life, I mean in my current being, I can't imagine that I'll be sustaining needs of our students in my home country, having known that in my college life I was a dropout at some extent, you know, because I was thinking, how can I be able to finish my studies? Because we don't have the financial asset to do that, you know. But my growth mindset took me there. I said, no, I need to really make a way, not entirely to land a job. So if my father, I'm the eldest of four, but my father told me we don't have that finance, you know, stop your, I mean, you need to cease your registering for your college education. And then I had to stop for one semester because I need to, you know, I need to scan the environment, what opportunities would be there. And now that I'm having this kind of topic to deliver with you guys, I can't think of a situation other than that situation wherein my growth mindset came into the open, that I said, I visualize myself, you know, having said that I would love to learn, that I can, you know, augment the rest of the people in the family's needs, such as my eventually I was able to sustain the needs of my three other siblings for the collegiate education. But the key there is for me to finish my education first. You know, I sourced a scholarship in another university because the first university I was able to stop, you know, having said that we don't have that finances. I mean, that capacity to augment my needs on a day-to-day basis. So the creation of that resiliency happened to be there. I said that there must be a way for me to move out of this core of impoverishment, you know. Without me thinking about that and having that vision, that mindset, maybe I won't be able to have this moment with you, you know, because I just surrendered and I just said, okay, let me just work somewhere and the rest will follow. No, it didn't work that way. So that's one way over the other important there. So that led me to this positive thinking, you know. In so many circumstances, authors of today would attribute it to almost the same thing, but I would support, you know, Carol Dweck's idea that it's an offset. You know, it's an offset. It's a byproduct of having very good power of the growth mindset that enables you to basically have that power to intuitively bring out the best in you because of the way you think. You know. So the positive imagery, positive self-talk, or general optimism is very important here. You see here the word self-talk. It's not just you relating to other people that you would say there is interpersonal skills. But before you do that, you need to have very good relationship with yourself. It's an intrapersonal relationship, which is very common if you're talking about the emotional intelligence competency by Goleman or Barron or other people who have propounded the EI framework of that. Regardless of who has been talking about EI as a perspective, because there are a lot of theories on that note. Positive self-talk is very important. Just don't make it too loud when you do self-talk. You know the repercussion when you thought you're alone and you're not, right? So the positive self-talk there is your ability to really regulate your emotions. That's the key. Before it goes out, you know, outwardly from yourself to your environment. That produce general optimism, okay? Well, some people may also rationalize that positivism is different from optimism, you know. If some of you have seen the short argument of Simon, you know, Sinek, for example, looking into optimism and positivism, is more into optimism. Like in today's time, our topic is more on your strategic mindset to be able to cope to the new normal, you know. So the optimism there is for you to recognize what's happening and do what you think is best, right? For others, positivism may just be to convince yourself, hey, everything will be okay, right? So these may be different at some angle, they may be the same. Okay. So for me, they're kind of tied up together. One cannot stand without the other, so they're like springboard as well. Okay, that augments some sort of power within each of the boundaries. All right, moving forward. Well, some of you may be asking, how can I change my mindset? Is there a way for me to do things according to what experts would tell? And what are the don'ts that I need to look into so I can avoid, or at least practice the do's at that? Okay. So again, stress happens to be normal in our entire life, or in our life, and there's also not, as always, negative stress that would be encompassing with our day-to-day being. There are times that the stress may be on the positive side, so deal with that. So for example, your studies now, you find it kind of challenging but exciting at the same time. It's something that motivates you, and you think that without you looking into or experiencing the hardships in acquiring your degree, your diploma in the near future, without you having being exposed to that factor, there's no opportunity in the near future, right? You need to think that way. So it should be viewed more of a positive stress than negative stress. Okay, so therefore you manage by studying well. You do your designing of timeline, for each of the requirement in the course. You become more ethical as you energize yourself that this is the right thing to do it. You know how to handle your research work, every time you have it. That for you to be able to focus on possibilities, you really need to work hard on it, and there's no way for you to do some shortcut, in this particular angle. So we say you do embrace the stress at the end of the day and take it like a usual thing, like brushing your teeth, right? I know it's not as challenging as that. I hope you did brush your teeth today. But the point here is more on looking into what you need to do. Once you've seen it's something that you need to do anyway, it could be hard at first, but as you adjust your gears to it, it seems to be like the new normal, So having said that, having this exposure to the idea, or even the way you do it, you're about to do it. I mean, do it meaning you have to come back to the campus and all that. It's a matter of having a mindset that just like any storm, the virus may come to pass too, right? At the other side, you will find thinking about the stress as a threat. So if you are fixated here, the psychology of fear would normally give you that idea that the reason why you feel that kind of fear, it's because you don't fully understand what's happening. But once you do, that there are things you can control, like taking care of your health, washing your hands every now and then, whatever your definition of every now and then would be, right? Having gloves or your facial mask, among other things, you come to decrease the amount of fear there is in terms of having a threat. Does it something that demoralizes you? That is something that would give you a pressure? Is that overwhelming feeling, points to debilitating feeling that, oh, it's something I cannot live in. You cannot live in that moment because you don't really want to be physically outside your workspace. Let's face it, there are a lot of trauma that each one of us feel right now because of the figures that you have seen so far. It may not entirely be much here in the country, but you cannot ignore some people really have that kind of panicking mode, because of what's happening. So don't focus on problems, focus on something more positive, because if you do, you'll have this automatic negative response system, And if you do have that automatic response system to negativity, then you're more into not managing your stress. Okay, so here we say you don't necessarily need to fight stress, but you need to recognize that negative stress, especially if we're talking about the negative stress in this side, you know, in that orangey color. And instead, once you recognize the answer, there is more on the awareness. If you're aware of what's happening, then you can easily adjust your gear and move on to something, or move forward, not just move on, move forward to something productive, and you look forward to something productive in the near future. Okay. All right. So what then is the implication before we go to the dichotomy, to the dynamics of growth mindset, part of your seemingly short test a while ago, right? So global studies have been emphasizing that those individuals who have very good growth mindset, and they're very much aware about their skills, not just their skills, but even their deficiency, their weaknesses, if you may say so. But in business, we call it more of opportunity for growth, right? All right. So it redounds to these angles. You know, people who have more, who have been practicing more of a growth mindset, they're more happy, not just with their jobs, their chosen profession, but also with their family, you know, in terms of the so many levels of interaction there may be. Okay, it's because they know their limitation, they recognize these limitations, and they do something about these limitations too. Okay, they have more mental health. So you may not know that those who do not have that much of growth mindset, obviously they have more negativity to talk about. I mean, they think about and they live with their fears. It doesn't help them. So we feel that stress, and then you have depression and anxiety. All along are both clinically called. They're clinically called mental illness. So you're not within those levels if you manage, you know, the situation all along. That growth mindset makes you feel more confident, and you have less, you know, mental health issues to attend to. And why is it that some people have very good, you know, landing of a job only because they made the right decision, even by taking the right course or specialization back in college, or even the decision to study. Your decision to study in BSU, for instance, it's a giant leap toward that angle of hoping that one day you will be able to land a job that not just to augment the needs of the family, but also to propel, you know, your position in that company, or who knows, establishing a business in the near future could be an intelligent move. And that's brought about by your growth mindset. You know, so growth mindset in there is not just a belief that you can survive having an employer, but if you would be able to employ that entrepreneurship idea, then it can even, you know, soar up. You can even soar up with your desire to be able to have that financial asset that you would be aiming in the process. Okay, and in the study of Carol Dweck, you know, in high IQ, I mean that would pertain to high IQ. Those of growth mindset at the beginning, they don't exactly have the high IQ. All right. I agree solely that high IQ is given. I mean, IQ in itself is given at birth, but it's not static nowadays. It's not stable. Unlike in the previous studies in 1950s, 70s, and 80s, we say that, you know, IQ is always stable. So whatever is your IQ passed on from one generation, from your parents to the offspring, that will be static, you know. But it's different nowadays in terms of research, you know. So if you come to recognize that these are my set of limitations, and I'll do something about them, then you have the capacity to also increase your IQ there. Okay, so the studies in here is that the growth mindset, once you have it, you will, you know, the interconnectedness of your neuron, and it's not just to have this very good adaptability to absorption of knowledge or information rather, but also to have the capacity to regenerate the neurons there is. Before, once some neurons, we have around 86 billion neurons in our brain. Once it dies, some of them would die through age. That would also contribute to your lowering of IQ, but not these days. And one thing that can pull it up and boost your IQ is through growth mindset. This is part of the study of Carol Dweck, and even Angela Duckworth have this kind of supporting information. Okay. All right, so we'll go through improved social relationships. So if you have a high IQ there, there's also a representation of high EQ in here. It's obvious, guys, that once you have growth mindset, you appear to be more positive than not. To have more improved relationship, maybe with family, with people on purpose. And of course, you have leaders that once you're a very good mindset, it's easy for you to motivate when at work or in your certain community or potential. There's this viability when you interact with people, they will influence that, right? So therefore, as an employer, even if you're not a leader, there's a certain form of dependability. People would always look up to you. You may not exactly be a form of charismatic person, but you have what it takes to execute something because of that growth mindset that you have. So these are just some of the many implications if you have a growth mindset there. Okay, I'll give some examples later on the opposite side of growth mindset that some of you may have a level. That you pertain to that level when we had the quiz taken at the earlier part of my discussion. So the power of yet, there's this study that was done, and this is still existing as of the current time, that in a high school entity, for instance, in Chicago particularly, that's part of the study of Carol Dweck all along. So the power of yet is pertaining to that stance that your ability to handle that moment of failing, for instance. So some high school students who would graduate in that X school, it was not mentioned in the study, but then students who fail doesn't necessarily receive the word failed or that numerical grade below the standard. So if the standard, for example, is 60, that's the passing rate, for instance, and you get below than that, it doesn't show failed or it doesn't show that numerical value. Instead, the description posted, it's kind of unique. On the report grade would be not yet. Okay, this has inspired the author to basically write more about that yet to come. So it gives you that avenue to state that it's not yet for me to say that I have achieved this, but I need to take it further by me, by me to insert more effort, to push myself more to my limits. Okay, so true to what experts are saying, that failures happen to be one of the good ingredients of success. It may be ironic, but no one could basically appreciate the value of success without really going through some failures or some flaws there is, with the way you decide. It could be some of your indecisions in life, could be the kind of course you have taken in the past, but now I hope you're on the right track, among other things. Okay, so the power of yet is basically your opportunity to grow because of those set of setbacks or drawbacks that you have encountered in the past. And clearly, if you have seen the video of Steve Jobs when he had his last formal gathering, the formal gathering that he has attended to, when he was called for this very good, powerful speech, simple yet very striking, when he was at Stanford University. And he was stating that there's no way for you to move forward if you will not draw the dots backward. And that is for you to scan what happened in your life in the past. Like in my case, part of my introduction a while ago is that I was saying that how would I appreciate the value of education if I just, accepted my fate that I cannot come to the university. I didn't even think at that time that I would reach this point of having two PhDs, bragging aside, to look into the parameters of improving myself, in the process, and to even motivate other people that, hey, you can be in the university by me providing scholarship with them back home. You get this analysis in the previous past that someone like me who cannot even think of going to the university would have this kind of flexibility now, of somehow not just motivating people to do some sort of self-sustaining effort, but to also look into other, capacity of providing means and providing opportunity for other people to do the same and to pay forward. Okay, so in the growth mindset dimension, it says here, I can learn to do anything I want. There's a lot of it's sky is the limit thing when you look into what the mind is capable of doing. And these challenges, as I've said, will help you grow and develop your efforts to determine further and to discover your abilities. How would you know that you have the ability to lead if you will not try? So if some of you are afraid to really be part of an organization, let's say in BSU, and you have a lot of fears and you cannot catalyze them, how would you know you can deliver if you will not give yourself a break? If other people are somehow entrusting you to do so. Entrusting you to have a try on those opportunities that are laid down to you, right? So this part is also a way for you to see how success of others can infiltrate that part of your brain, your mindset, by looking into that dimension that you can do it too. So in this very relevant study of Angela Ducksworth and Carol Dweck, both agree that those students who want to do things the other way around, not to do it the hard way, for instance, those who cheat in the classroom, or those who are almost failing, their innermost inclination is to look into other people's scores in those tests as well. They would, you also need to accept the fact that some of you are doing this too. Oh, how much did you get in this X course of ours or X subject of ours, And you come to compare and contrast. And once you've seen some people have obtained lower grade than you feel good, You're not in the power of yet if that's your way of coping. You're probably in the other dimension, which is the essence of now. Part of when you guys were taking your short quiz at the bottom part, when I was discussing on the range, I said you're currently in the now. Which I've said there's nothing wrong with that, but there will be something wrong with that if you will live with that until you progress with time. So therefore you have more fixed rather than growth mindset. Okay, so you need to recognize where you are, because undoubtedly, if you will sense that you are in the now side, then you need to shift your gears to be in the power of yet rather than the essence of now. Okay, so in the power of yet, it says here, I like to try new things. In your organizational behavior class, if you have taken that, there are 5 different big 5 personality traits, right? One of those 5 will be related to what we call agreeableness, or ability to look forward to new circumstances, openness to experience. Okay, that's the I like to try new things here. The fixed mindset is different. That's the opposite. You're kind of comfortable with your zone now. This is seen even with the way you join groupings in your group projects, because you have your comfort zones there, right? So you want to stick with what is happening now, and you have your comfort zones there, there's no room for growth there, first and foremost, because you don't get to interact with other people and see how learning can take place, because definitely you can learn from other people and they would learn from you too. But if you belong from the same team, as always, in those 4 years or 3 years of being in the university, you might be missing a big link in there. Okay, so that's the bottom part of the essence of now. So going back to that study of the previous study of Dweck and Angela, Carol and Angela to be specific. The fixed mindset happened with most people, from which they see failure as a disadvantage. Okay, it limits their abilities. And this is the time from which there may be some criticisms placed on your group project, or maybe just personally in your wall, and you can't handle very negative criticisms all along, and this bothers you all the time. This basically is pertaining to this dimension that you're in this particular state. Okay, so you can easily say that you're judged, and that basically discourages you a lot. And you may also say, my potential is predetermined. It's there, but there's no way for you to progress further. You may be saying, my IQ is average and I can't do anything about it. So if you don't push much to discover new things and elevate maybe it's the way you learn things as they are, you may probably have to change your study habits, among other things. Okay, so you can easily be frustrated, you can easily give up. So in the middle, if Carol has posited this concept of the power of yet, and Angela Ducksworth, for instance, have pushed on the grit section to augment these two together, that means perseverance is the key aspect of how you can basically deliver things as they are. And it serves as your springboard towards the success factor, because knowing your limitations is one thing, and then doing something about it is one thing. But the problem here is that if you have established in yourself what we call learned helplessness, you're having your fixed mindset in here. Okay, so now you know the difference between these two. I think it's so important for you to go further and enrich your positivity and your mindset by looking into these practical tips. Okay, so these practical tips that I have prepared for you. Number one, obviously you need to start the day with a positive affirmation. This is the problem with most people. So when you start your day with a not so positive thing, it seems like you're saying, why is it that I have the the series of unfortunate events in that day? It's probably because you started it with the wrong foot. And by me saying this, in the morning you need to basically, as you face yourself in the mirror, which is a problem for some, because they don't even want to face the mirror, and because they don't see goodness in that. It means that when you see yourself in the mirror, you don't want to really stare at the mirror. You have a problem with that, first and foremost. You need to appreciate the beauty in you, and that sets the tone of your day. And also declare that day will be wonderful, and you're in control of everything. If you believe in the premise of what the Book of Secrets have introduced to us, that this positivity and ingrained, positivity, that what you think will happen, words of life, this is also very much into our religion. It's kind of spiritually laden, that if you believe that it will happen, it will definitely happen. But you need to believe it with all your heart. So you need to declare it at the start of the day, right? So it's part of this very specific tip one, all right, in here. And tip number two, focus on the good things, no matter how small, okay? The reason why people are depressed these days, or they have anxiety attacks, is because they don't see the good things that could happen, even in small circumstances. So you remember that hope is missing in the background, why you have fear, why you are depressed, and why you have anxiety. Hope is normally absent in the picture. So if you come to appreciate the value of things and people, those who love you the most, they're just there in at the background. So you can easily say a lot of things have to be you have to be very thankful about. And remember, being thankful also makes the brain mass dense. It means that all the more your brain is rewired according to the new studies if you have been practicing gratitude. So this is part of appreciating things, and appreciating things means the application of gratitude. Okay, so I mentioned earlier on that unfortunately biologically the brain is really more negative than not, in terms of its dichotomy. So the fact that the amygdala, it's a part of the brain that basically once it is activated, all these negativities just flash in. And if you don't focus on something good or something that you appreciate on a day-to-day basis, you will always be conquered by what we call automatic negative response, okay, to those circumstances. So that's one I would want to share with you. And number 3 out of 7, find humor in bad situation, or in a bad situation. Sorry for the mistake in here. S shouldn't be there. Find humor in a bad situation. So in here, many of you may have also seen how memes would have been created in the background. When you've seen one of the posted graphical representation of people going out, if you can only see those virus in there, you can find a lot of like balloon type of virus-like elements in the air. So you just imagine if you can only see them and it appears like this. You'll smile at the same time, would say, okay, it's a reality in itself, but it's represented through a different form, right? So that's also one way of saying, that you have this more of a preference to appreciate the beauty of something, even if it's not really so beautiful. Okay. Number 4 out of 7, turn failures into lessons. One of the psychologist approved guidelines is deal with something that you can control, like information that you can consume, right? You're that type of person who can easily flares up when you hear about circumstances on the cases of COVID, on how many people have died globally, locally, or regionally. Then you also have to learn from that circumstance that that's something that is not good for you. You need to learn your lesson there too, that consuming the right information could be learning something out of that lesson. You know yourself better than I do. You know yourself better than other people would do. So it's one way of saying regulate the kind of information that you consume, because basically you have to learn from your previous experiences. Okay, don't repeat the same error over and over again, right? And 5 out of 7, we have practicing of positive self-talk, which I mentioned at an earlier time. Again, don't make it too loud, especially if you think you're alone, and you're not. You know the meaning of that, right? But then in reality, you have around 50,000 to 80,000 without the pandemic yet at that time, according to studies, at the minimum. Maybe you're a student or a professional, 50 to 80,000 thoughts on a daily basis. So that doubled the time in the new normal, because you're thinking of a lot of things, You have even what we call cognitive overload, according to psychologists, because of we're in practicing self-talk is even one of those things that would happen in processing your thoughts. But decide to be more on the positive rather than on the negative. How to do this is more on your cognitive control system, wherein if you would classify this as kind of negative, how can I be able to divert my energy to accommodate more on the positive circumstance of things. Okay, so that's what it is. Second to the last is focus on the present. All right, so many of you are having, of course, regrets happen to be a facet of our learning experience, but don't live with it, with the past, because you can never make your present and your future better if you're into that. So if those who are really good in psychology would, if you're the way you look at it will be more on Freud's theory, when you talk about psychodynamics, is that who you are is because of your past. That could probably be true, but don't live with the past, especially if the past happened to be quite negative in some of the circumstances. Learning from it is good, but moving outside its core, not for you to have the same set of mistakes or flaws. That indeed is what we call growth mindset. Okay, so that's what this is. And last but not the least, okay, I only have 4 minutes left in my tracking of time. Surround yourself with positive people. Okay, our generation of today is more on positive psychology, according to most experts. Number one, you think that physical well-being is as good as your mental well-being. That's basically true. As a matter of fact, the World Health Organization have propounded, it has introduced the balance among the three important factors, that would lead to sustained mental health. Okay, and of course, surrounding yourself with positive people is happen to be one of the elements. It's the third element there is in that framework. The first in the framework of defining happiness or well-being would be: are you physically well? So if you are, and you do exercise, again, this stage, even your parents probably have worked on your insurance, on their insurance is kind of prevalent, in this at this time and age. And we think that, having this wellness program integrated in our way of life in a day-to-day being can be part of that wellness dimension. So that's physical is indeed complementary of the mental, which is the second area or conglomerate of mental health. Okay, so mental health in itself, mental in the middle, it's the way you think, it's the psychology in itself, how you adjust. This is what the role of mindset is there, particularly growth mindset. Okay, and then later on, that's how you facilitate that, that in you, how you exude, how you relate well with other people. And surrounding yourself with positive people can really aid you, can really help you out. This is the basic, you've been hearing this over and over again, that social media even teaches us that it's important to avoid negative people. It's because it's not helping you, it's not giving you the kind of energy that you deserve to be able to have a more sustained well-being. Okay, so these 7 are indeed very, very important. So I would say the fixed mindset makes you concerned with how you will be judged. The growth mindset has you concerned with improving. Okay, so you can see the fixed mindset, you may be appreciating what you currently have, but it's not self-sustaining one way over the other. Okay, it's something that makes you be at ease by now, but there's no growth in the near future. So whichever state you are right now, it's a matter of question, and which dimension you will be in the near future is another very challenging question to look into. Okay, so I would say that this is part of my parting words. I hope you guys would be in a more, I would say, not just relevant and important, but in a more pleasant state, which obviously is more on the growth mindset that there is. Okay, I prepared also some helpful links that later you guys can also consider revisiting. That's part of my discussion today. That's essentially very important. So I say thank you for being with us in today's session. And I hope you were able to get something very important in your mindset for the new normal. Thank you very much. And I turn you over to the facilitator of today. I'll stop my sharing of the screen in here. All right.
Thank
Thank you very much.
so much.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
And sir,
Thank you very much.
yeah, it's been very informative. Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you. The session is now, I think, open for discussion. You guys feel free to articulate your views or share some insights.
Okay. So if anyone wants to ask the question or say something, yeah, can you ask me? Sir, there's one question.
Hi. I'm minded. Yes, go ahead, please.
For your information. So I'm sorry for joining late because I was doing some recording. I have this question. You said that we have to be like grateful, right? And for me, I try very hard to be grateful and to be like thankful for everything that's happening. But sometimes, for some of the students, it happens, might be the case that instead of like being grateful, you say that, or not being grateful. So instead of like being happy, we went, reverse, like we become guilty that we're not being grateful. So do you have any like suggestion for that kind of thing? Because I have this mind that instead of going the reverse, anything like that.
That's a nice question. You see, there's no one is perfect. There are times even psychologists would have or psychiatrists may have some stressful situations in life, and sometimes you even at some extreme. When we do counseling, you can see some people who are really intelligent and they're quite equipped with the necessity of life. They have achieved something greater. I mean, something unimaginable. And they still have this mental process, this thought process that why is this happening to me? They even sometimes question God, for all of these mishaps. Especially at this point in time, the experts are saying stress is kind of the new normal, and being depressed at some extent is kind of the new normal. And when you're under this circumstance, sometimes you lose a grip on activating the logical part of the brain rather than the emotional part of the brain. The brain has also the hard and the soft components, if you would say so. The soft is more on the emotional response system. That the reason why you are sometimes having this not so aware that you're already becoming negative is because you don't realize that there's something that is happening there. It means that the emotional center of the brain, particularly the amygdala, if you may say so, activated first before the thinking side of the brain. So the thinking side is the hard side of the brain, not because it's difficult, but because it's logical. When you say technical or logical part of the brain, the thinking part came first before the emotional part. So you are in control. Not all the time you will be in control. That's the thing. But have some time. In my introduction earlier on, I said our ability nowadays, what is lacking in our ability nowadays is our ability to reflect on what happened within a day. So even if it is in the middle or at the end, it's so important that you experience some sort of relaxation. Because if you're so preoccupied with a lot of things, you don't get the opportunity to relax. And if you're not in a relaxed state, it's so difficult for you to reflect. So that one thing is very important. Reflection is very important. Second is your awareness. If awareness is absent, you cannot really foretell what is good and what is not. You really need to be aware of your actions, the implications of your behavior, because if not, then all this time you think you're doing good, you're doing well, but you're not. So third, you need to listen to people. When they mention to you something that, hey, something is going on and this is not most likely you, come to listen, because if you're close to those suggestions, you're in the fixed mindset. You're not in the growth mindset. This is where the problem is, because you're becoming more stubborn and you insist that you're okay, but the fact is that you're not. So this opens the gate of accepting. That's the fourth stage. Upon looking into all of these circumstances, if you're listening to others, listening to yourself, even to your body system. Sometimes when something is aching, your head, your chest, listen to your body system, because it means that your brain is telling you that, hey, you've been working too hard and you have been thinking negatively, and this is what's happening to you. So these are in intersections of what I think would be very important for you to consider in the process. That's a very good question. There are a lot of possible answers for that, but yeah, that's I think good points that I want to deal with. Yeah.
Thank you so
Thank you for
much.
that question.
Now leave it to the students. I'm one of the students, like people who have a lot of questions, but I would like to give other people their chances.
Oh, yeah, sure, and I can get back to you too in case. Yeah. Yeah, if you still have time, sure, why not? Yep. Anyone else? It's a very interesting topic. I'm sure you're encountering this because mindset is a byproduct of your thoughts. You don't normally say it. You don't. Well, some people even write it down. It's very important if you write down your mind setting activities. Especially at this point in time, with this pandemic. Journaling, that becomes a noun now. That that way of writing something helps you really realize what you want in life. Yeah. Is it even more successful if you write down those goals that you have, and it's a form of mind setting that you will achieve them. Other than visualizing them, writing them is even more powerful. Yep. Anyone else? I'm sorry, I talk too much. I'm an educator.
Students, do you have any questions?
You can write what right.
You can write your questions if you don't want to. Yeah.
That's also possible. I'm not sure where I can view those chat in here. Sorry, guys. Yeah.
It's just like,
Yeah. Someone is speaking something, but it's not.
All right. Yeah. I thought someone is there. Someone was there.
For me,
Yeah, Cam. You want to ask some questions?
Please turn off your mics and you can write down the question.
Yeah.
control for I think there will be no more questions, so we can move on.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Anyone else who may have some questions?
Questions?
I'm so far.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so no one have any questions.
All right.
Okay. So,
Are you
no
sure?
question? I think it's very clear, Doctor. I think there's something today now.
All right. Yeah, sure. And if there's anything you would want to share, I've shared my whereabouts. I mean my data earlier on. So just can also add me up on those social media that I have mentioned a while ago, Rommel Sergio, and we'll take it from there. If in case we also have an online counseling platform. If some of you would inquire or refer somebody else, it's free online counseling platform. Yep.
Doctor, I think there's
There is
one.
one question.
Sure.
Is it true that the little things in life can impact your life or mindset?
I didn't get it. Sorry. Is it true that?
That the little things in life can impact your life or mindset?
Okay, I think there's a problem with my connection. Your voice cracks down. So what's in my is it in the chat room?
Yes,
Oh
sir.
yeah, I found it now. Yeah. And okay. Question for individual investors or acts. Can greatly impact someone else's mindset. That's the question, right?
Yes, sir. That's my
Obviously, the act of kindness, if that's what we want to put it, no matter how small or big, can definitely influence another person. You can probably figure out, even if it's not deliberate in your case, to do a favor to somebody else or to help out somebody else, for someone else's point of view, it's already big. So what I can say there is that just continue to do random act of kindness, maybe small or big, because definitely this gives great impact for somebody else to do the same thing and to have a mindset that it's the proper way to do it. So yeah, I support the essence of the question, in a sense that it's so obvious that just like smiling, it's kind of very influencing. When you do these gestures, whether small or big, that contributes to the cycle of well-being all along. So just continue what you think is good, as long as it is beneficial for yourself and for other people. Yeah. Yep. You're welcome. Yep. All right. Now I can see some of the chats in here. Thank you for those comment. You're welcome. For most people who mentioned, thank you. All right.
Thank you so much for your time today.
You're welcome.
That hopefully we can invite you again soon.
Oh, sure. All the best. And it's an honor, as I've said, to be here. Not just because Dr. Sally and Dr. Nino are good friends of mine, not just that, but because it being part of a higher education institution, it means a lot for people like us to have this kind of platform to share our insights, our expertise, that could aid you in your development. I wish you all good luck, and I hope you are shifting from the now to the hour of now, at that. So have a great day and stay safe.
Sir, thank you. Thank you so much.
All the best to you guys. Bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Bye-bye.
And students, hope you enjoyed today's session, and we will be having more sessions again. So hope to see you there also. You will be informed through email. We will send you the link. Okay. Sally will send you the link on your email. So looking forward to that. And yeah, and we are eagerly waiting for September to see you face to face.
Yeah, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you, Miss.
Thank you,
Miss.
Safe, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye.